If you haven't heard of this book or the man who wrote it, Joe Verdegan, you're living under one big rock. But it's my pleasure to introduce you, Joe Verdegan. Man, thank you for preserving the history of the racing programs we had here in this area by writing this book. But not only that, for writing your articles in the local paper, for going to the races and just letting us know what's going on. Because racing was my life as a child, growing up with the heroes that helped me sign my book. Name a couple of the guys that were here.
Well, at the book signing today, we got Mike Randerson, who was Alan Kowicki's car chief for a long time. I have Wild Bill Fitzgerald, who's on the cover of the book, and he raced, 1949 was his first year he was racing. We wrote about a lot of guys in this book locally. As a kid myself, you know, De Pere was one of my favorite tracks in the early 70s. J.J. Smith, Roger the Bear Regath, Roger Paul, Medina Smith, those guys were my childhood heroes. Yeah. So for me to interview these guys for the book, it was a passion thing, I guess. You know, right. It was like a dream to talk to these guys who I idolized as a kid. It's like, wow, and they're telling me their stories. It was very cool.
And I appreciate you doing that, getting this together, because everybody thinks about doing it. Good old Daryl, our cameraman, does like a legacy thing with video. Sure. Interviewing older people, telling about their lives so they can preserve the history to their families, and that's what you're doing, preserving the history. Now, would you say, I'm more into hot rodding, of course, but it was the fellows that came home from World War II, used the belly tankers off the airplanes, started making hot rods, Bonneville salt flat cars. Would you say that's what happened to stock car racing? The guys coming home from World War II started racing?
When guys, they built like the car, Bucky Wagner's car here. Yes. Everything's built from scratch compared to nowadays where everything's kind of bought, you know, everything from the shocks. Back then there was a lot of ingenuity. Everybody knew how to weld, right. And men were men. When there were disagreements on the track, they settled them with these, right. But then they'd have an ice cold beer at the end, you know. To me, that I was born probably 20 years too late. I think right. I would have been great for this era, but yeah, to have those guys tell those stories, and everybody's got their own story. It's like, wow, they're just perfect stories for the book. And when I wrote this book, I pretty much try to let the drivers and promoters tell their stories, and that's what we have in Life of the Fast Lane.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe was kind enough to autograph my book, along with these other notable guys from racing. I can't really wait to get home and start reading it, because a friend of mine showed me, and I started reading it. He started talking to me. I didn't even hear him. I was just so engrossed in the book. Joe, thank you for coming here so much. You're going to have fun. You're going to have a line of people here who already want you to autograph their books. So thanks. You take care of yourself, buddy.
Hey, thank you, Tommy. I appreciate you doing it.
All right.